It's hard to believe, but back in 1958, in the quiet town of Bad Nauheim, Germany, a world icon and a young girl were about to cross paths in a way that few could have predicted. This wasn't just any encounter, it was the beginning of a relationship that would leave an indelible mark on both their lives. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, was in Germany as part of his military service. Meanwhile, Priscilla, just 14 years old, was navigating a life filled with secrets and shadows. Priscilla's world was far from the glitz and glamour that surrounded Elvis. Her father, Lieutenant James Wagner, wasn't her biological father. The truth about her past was hidden from her by her mother until she discovered it through a picture that showed her parents with a flag symbolizing those who died in service. The revelation was a painful blow, a secret she had to carry alone. On the night they met, Priscilla was captivated by Elvis's looks. She remembered thinking he was even more handsome than the character he played in Love Me Tender. But what truly set her heart racing was the connection she felt, a spark that went beyond mere attraction. Elvis, on the other hand, was smitten. To him, meeting Priscilla felt like a second chance at loving someone named Deborah, but this time it was Priscilla who bore a striking resemblance to Deborah Paget, his co-star from Love Me Tender. Elvis was known for his quick romantic involvements, often falling hard and fast. With Priscilla, it was immediate. He saw her as more than just a young girl. She reminded him of the love he had lost. Priscilla, for her part, felt an electric energy but didn't quite return his feelings in the same way. Still, there was an undeniable pull between them. That night, Elvis took Priscilla to his bedroom, and despite the vast age and experience gap, he acted like the young boy she had imagined. He played the piano, showing off, trying to impress her. Priscilla, while aware of his fame, didn't feel the typical starstruck awe. Instead, she saw a vulnerable man seeking connection. Priscilla's life was a tapestry of secrets. Her real father, a Navy pilot, had died when she was very young. Her mother kept this from her, adding to her sense of isolation. Meeting Elvis only deepened these feelings of mystery and secrecy. She knew she had to protect his privacy, even as she found herself drawn into his world. As weeks turned into months, Priscilla found herself visiting Elvis frequently. At school, she became known as Elvis Girl, a title that both intrigued and isolated her. She kept her interactions with Elvis closely guarded, understanding the power of secrets and the trust they created between them. Elvis, in turn, saw in Priscilla a kindred spirit, someone who understood the weight of his own secrets and loneliness. Their connection was intense and all-consuming. Elvis shared his fears and dreams with Priscilla, speaking openly about his mother and the pressure of his stardom. Priscilla, for her part, offered him a sense of safety and understanding. She was there to listen, to be his confidant, and to keep his confidences. For Elvis, Priscilla represented more than just a fleeting romance. She was a link to his past, a reminder of his mother, Gladys, whom he had lost just a year before. Priscilla, though young, felt a deep responsibility to protect this vulnerable man. She was his shield, his confidant, and his guardian angel in a strange and foreign land. Their love was a secret world, magical and intense, bound by the shared understanding that their relationship was both forbidden and profound. In those stolen moments in Elvis's bedroom, they created a space where they could be truly themselves, free from the expectations and judgments of the outside world. As the nights turned into memories, the bond between them grew stronger. For both Elvis and Priscilla, their time together was a fleeting yet powerful experience, one that would shape their lives in ways they could never have imagined. In the heart of post-war Germany, a story unfolded, weaving together the threads of grief, friendship, and an unlikely hero. Private First Class Garcia, a young soldier from New Mexico, had just returned from a devastating visit home. His family had been tragically killed in an accident, leaving him alone and heartbroken. The Army, through the Red Cross, offered him a lifeline, a trip home and back, along with financial support. But it was something far more unexpected that changed his life. One evening, in the quiet of the barracks, Elvis Presley walked in. Not the superstar everyone knew, but a humble soldier who felt the weight of his fellow servicemen's struggles. Elvis saw Garcia's pain and, moved by it, did something extraordinary. He handed Garcia $2,500, a fortune in 1959, to help with his family's funeral costs. This generous act remained a secret, known only to a handful of friends. Elvis wanted to help without seeking fame or recognition. He wanted to be just another soldier, serving alongside his comrades. Elvis often found himself in the barracks, avoiding the limelight. The other soldiers adored him, not just for his talent, but for his genuine nature. He would sit and play his guitar, providing a rare moment of joy in their grim existence. Army life was tough, far from home, with little to distract them in a cold, post-war Germany. Elvis understood this. He knew they longed for a break from their rigorous routines. One such evening, after a particularly grueling day, Elvis decided to serenade his friends. He strummed his guitar, and though his voice was not as polished as his recordings, the raw emotion in his song touched everyone present. It was these small moments that made him a hero to his fellow soldiers, not for his fame, but for his humanity. Meanwhile, back in the States, Priscilla found herself drawn into a world far removed from her daily struggles. She was deeply in love with Elvis, though they had never met. Her admiration for him was so strong that she started collecting small mementos, cigar bands, notes he wrote, even a piece of windshield glass from one of his accidents. These treasures were kept in a special box, a testament to their imaginary connection. As school became increasingly burdensome, Priscilla's dreams of Elvis consumed her. She struggled to stay awake in class, her mind always elsewhere. Her grades began to slip, but she kept her nocturnal visits to Elvis's imagined presence a secret from her parents. The pressure was mounting, and she knew she had to find a way to cope. One night, tired and exhausted, Priscilla found herself at Elvis's doorstep, or rather, in his imagination. He noticed her fatigue and offered her something he thought would help: small white pills. These were actually dexedrine, a form of amphetamine commonly used to boost energy and focus. Elvis didn't know the long-term dangers, but he trusted these pills, believing them to be safe and effective. He gave them to Priscilla with instructions to use them sparingly. Elvis himself had received these pills from a sergeant, who claimed they were prescribed for soldiers on guard duty. Elvis, a night owl who hated waking early, found them a godsend. He shared them with his friend Rex Mansfield, telling him they were harmless and could give incredible strength and energy. Both boys saw them as magic pills, capable of making any task easier. For Priscilla, however, the pills remained a secret. She kept them safely tucked away, along with other treasures of Elvis's. She admired his courage and his willingness to help, even if he didn't fully understand the risks. The bond between them, though imaginary, was strong, a connection built on shared dreams and a deep, unspoken understanding. Elvis's desire to excel was evident in everything he did. Whether it was maintaining a Jeep or mastering a map, he aimed to be the best. His competitive spirit pushed him, though he was no expert shooter, he worked hard to improve. One day, while helping a lieutenant with his car, Elvis showed his mechanical skills and even took the lieutenant's car for a high-speed test drive on the Autobahn. The car, a 1952 Ford with a 1948 Cadillac engine, was a marvel, reaching speeds over 100 miles an hour. People would stop to watch, marveling at Der Presley auf der Autobahn. These moments, big and small, painted a picture of Elvis as more than just a singer. He was a soldier, a friend, and an inspiration. His actions, driven by a desire to help and to be part of something greater, left an indelible mark on those around him. In the hearts of his fellow soldiers and in the dreams of a faraway girl, Elvis Presley was a beacon of hope and humanity, reminding everyone that even in the darkest times, kindness and generosity can shine brightly. Elvis Presley, after serving his time in the Army, returned home to Memphis with a mix of emotions. For Priscilla, leaving Elvis was hard. She felt lost and unsure if their time together was real. It was like a dream that might vanish. Elvis had given her his army jacket as a token, saying it meant she belonged to him. But as he flew away, she was left with questions and a heart full of mixed feelings. When Elvis got back to Graceland, his home, he felt like he was still in a dream. Everything seemed surreal. He wasn't hungry, but he wandered around, taking it all in. His return was big news, and soon there was a press conference at Graceland. Reporters swarmed him, asking about his time in the army and his music. Elvis answered with a smile, saying his haircut was just like switching to a new car after a few years' time for a change. One question stuck in everyone's mind: would Elvis re-enlist in the army? He shook his head firmly. His manager would probably lose his mind if he did. Coming home was everything to Elvis. He was excited but also a bit worried. 2 years away changed things. He wanted to continue his music career, but he wasn't sure if people would still remember him. Elvis's music had always been his life. It connected him to so many people. But now he faced an uncertain path. Would his fans still want what he had to offer? He hoped they would. After all, music was his way of sharing himself with the world. For Priscilla, the end of her time with Elvis opened a new chapter. She returned to school, trying to find her place again. The feelings she had for Elvis were intense, but she knew she needed to move forward. It wasn't easy, but she focused on her studies and friends. Elvis, back in Memphis, threw himself into his music and his home, Graceland. He threw parties, sang, and lived the life he loved, but he never forgot Priscilla. She had left a mark on him, showing him a side of himself he hadn't seen before. In the end, Elvis's story is one of passion, music, and the search for identity. He was a star who touched millions with his voice and his spirit. And though his path was filled with ups and downs, he always found a way to shine. For fans like Priscilla, his journey was a part of their own story, a reminder of the power of music and love.